Today's Thursday, October 13th, and we call the Economic Development Commission to order. Did everybody have a chance to review the minutes from August 11th? Are there any changes, comments, questions? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I so move.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
All right, good. We have to approve the meeting schedule for 2017. Tom has put together a list of dates based on our regular rotations of Thursday mornings. We take a look at those, and if I can get a motion to approve those dates.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
That will allow us to get these on as regular meetings. That's the goal of doing it.
Mr. Cooke, you're up.
All right. Well, there've been just run through the list of things we've got. Most recent is a report we saw from an organization called SafeWise. Good timing. Simsbury is one of the top 20 safest communities in Connecticut, according to their study, which was based on a review of FBI data and demographic data, and the top in the Farmington Valley. So it's probably, we did a press release on it. It's really not a surprise to anybody, and it's due to great work done by our police department and commitment to community policing. So it is really, I think, from an economic development standpoint, it's probably one of the great assets of Simsbury. There was also a notice that the Avon Water Company and the Connecticut Water Service had merged. Avon Water Company provides service to some Simsbury residents. I'm not exactly sure how many. It's not a huge number.
That's the house is off of Climax. Right.
And
in the Blue Ridge neighborhood.
Exactly. But that, I think, on balance, appears to be a positive development for everybody involved. We wanted to let this board know, this commission know, that the Small Business Association has a program for economic injury disaster as a result of drought for this year, which would apply to Hartford County. So small businesses or agricultural cooperatives, nonprofit organizations affected by a drought this year would, if they contact the Small Business Association, and I have contact information if you all know of anybody who would want to use that, they're eligible for funds if they can show that there's been some damage to drought. We've had a number of ribbon cuttings since we last met, which has been good. I think starting with the Parafill water storage tank, which is, they broke ground back in on September 22nd. One interesting thing that came out in that was that they were literally about a week away from being unable to proceed this year. This was a very complicated project that had to work very closely with town staff on getting the right easements in place and everything else. And I'm pleased to say that the town staff involved in that were very responsive, and as a result, they were able to break ground and move forward. So that was a real win.
How's that being financed, Tom?
That's the Parafill Fire District has got grant funding for it. They have other funds for it, but it's not no money coming from the town of Simsbury. I'm sure I'm probably stealing a little of Sarah's thunder here, but on the 6th we did a ribbon cutting for Sabre Olive Oil and Happiest Ink. They're the two most recent businesses across the way here, and both really neat shops. And these ribbon cuttings were well attended. And Best Cleaners, we did a ribbon cutting for them back, what was it, 2 days ago now? Yeah. On balance, it's driving down Hot Meadow Street these days. Things look a whole lot different than they did even a year ago. When you see what's going on with Benny's and with the, you've got starting at the Greenberg property and going all the way down. There are things that are happening, and so I think all in all, it's been pretty positive. The library has, with its new business resource person, who's Sarah Laudenschlager, who's a terrific person if you haven't met her. They're doing a program on grant writing for Simsbury businesses on October 17th at the library. And folks who are interested can contact Sarah for details on that. And they're creating a sort of a business night on Wednesday nights over there. The first session is, and again, it's for business owners, and the first session's on how to use LinkedIn to grow your business, and that's on October 26th. Major projects are still pushing along. The Silverman Group is trying very hard to get documents before the planning and zoning and design review groups this fall. So they're I think quite determined to break ground next spring. And that's, I think, pretty much covers what I've got. I also have, if anyone wants it, the last First Selectmen's report, which is contained now for several iterations, a really good summary of what project. It's sort of the status of projects out there, including projects that have been permitted, projects that are underway, and of course some of the ribbon cuttings we just talked about. That's what I got.
Mr. Balboni.
The biggest problem facing this town right now, as you all know, is the Charter Revision Commission. It's strangely silent, and we all know the reasons why it's silent. But the point is, come November, we don't know which way the vote's going to go. Maybe you guys have got a better feel for it than I do, but it's either going to be town manager up or town manager down. Now, if it's town manager down, so we continue just going the way we are, tell me what the plans are and how it'll work if the town manager is approved by the people.
I'm sorry, so
well, it's going to be this interim.
Right.
Which is going to be a town manager that's going to have to be hired, I gather, by our current Board of Selectmen.
My understanding from what I've heard from them, and there hasn't been any formal action taken on it, is that they're going to probably defer to the Board of Selectmen that's elected for that first term. So in other words, we'll have a new Board of Selectmen as of, I believe, December 4th of 2017. That's also the time of the town manager, if it passes, would go into place. So while I think there may be some structural things that can be considered prior to that, there is going to be a tricky transition there. There's no doubt, because I think the current board would defer to the newly elected board to determine compensation, contract with the town manager. Probably, I don't know whether the plan would be to redesign town staff prior to that. I can't imagine that makes a whole lot of sense. So it's going to be a tricky transition, and I don't think that there's any plan in place right now to able to address it. But depending on what happens on November the 8th, I'm sure that'll be an issue up front and center with the Board of Selectmen.
Well, I mean, everyone kind of glosses over this. We, as you all know, because you're involved in the thing, as the liaison, I guess, 11 people were put on the Charter Revision Commission. And as everyone, I think everyone, although I'm not sure how many in the town really understand, those 11 people spent almost a year, had 19 or 21 meetings, formal meetings, televised on SCTV, and then they came out with a vote of 7-4. Now, none of the organizations, power organizations of the town, have formally taken any position publicly on this, as far as I know. The Board of Selectmen, they voted 4-2, I guess, to move it forward. But the only one that made a statement of their personal beliefs on what it should be was Lisa. And I guess the other lady, I forget her name.
Elaine.
Those two did. The rest of them just said they, in essence, were moving it forward. Now, Chris Kelly jump party lines, of course, and he voted for it. Otherwise, it would have been dead at that point. When you read the paper, there's not much in the paper about this thing at all. And I've been going door to door in my neighborhoods to try to get a feel for a lot of the new people that have moved in. I can't read it, to be honest with you. If I had to make a wild stab, it seems to me the older people tend to lean against it. The younger people look at me like I got four heads and say, well, what do you mean? We have professional management right now that's very adequate. However, what happens on the transition when we elect a new first select person if we keep the old form of government? So it's all in a state of flux. Now, it's an important issue, and I know that the people that are on the Charter Revision Commission have been trying to get some information out to the public. The town doesn't put anything out on it. Now,
well, I should say that this past week a Nielsen announcement was sent out.
Oh, I can't hear. Speak cool.
We sent out a news and announcement this past week, which is goes on the website and goes to residents who signed up to receive news and announcements from the town, and that's several thousand. I'm not sure what the number is off the top of my head. And what that did was that explained that the Charter Revision Commission had made recommendations, and that the Board of Selectmen had voted to put those, put 6 questions, 6 of the recommendations on the ballot for November 8th, and it also invited people to come into Town Hall to pick up information or to go online to get information. So there is, you know, a notice has been sent out.
Tom, I hear you, a notice. But there's been no spread, really, of the thing, you know? It's strangely silent, and it's silent on all sides, pro and con, you know? It's like they figure, well, we don't know what's going to happen, therefore there's no planning. But if this goes to town manager, it can possibly change lots of things, you know?
There's no doubt, but I can't speak for the advocates on either side and why they've chosen what to do. But the other thing, just to be clear, I'm not sure. I hear your characterization of what the Board of Selectmen did. My recollection is that some of them took a more specific stand, but I'm not. I'd have to go back and check the minutes. We want to be careful about the.
I know, for instance, in the Republican Town Committee, I've tried for over a year to get dialogue going by the Town Committee to see if they wouldn't blindly take a position on it. I don't know what the Democrats have done, but then all the other organizations like Main Street, the Chamber of Commerce, you know, where the groups of leaders, if you will, are. They're all strangely silent. The only thing the Chamber of Commerce has done on the whole issue was this discussion. We're going to eliminate having a formal commission like we have here, you know? So that's when I say it's strangely silent, and depending on how, I think, with all due respects, if it goes down, then Lisa continues on, runs again for election. So there's no oomph of leadership coming out of the town, obviously, for this, and I understand that. But that doesn't help the populace, okay? And you talk to a lot of the new people, and their reaction is, well, what are you talking about, you know? Now here we're going into a big fundamental change, maybe, but it's like, you know?
I have the referendum questions. They're published on the town website.
Yes.
They were published in the newspaper.
Yeah, we've also.
Right, I know, I saw that. I couldn't read it.
Yes, it's in writing.
I guess it was really tiny.
Right.
But
That cost us almost $4,000.
I was going to say that costs a lot. And that's one of the things that's in the referendum, to not have to do public notices like that for paying for advertising.
Am I correct, though? Main Street hasn't taken a position on this, right?
Main Street has not and will not, and I think you'll see that most organizations, it's up to the residents to decide, Dave, and we're not taking a position. We don't take a position on things of this nature, and I think you'll see even with the Chamber and others, I don't want to speak for them, but I don't believe they've taken a formal stance on some of these as well. It's up to the residents to decide, and you got to be very careful. I could lose and I think a lot of us are in the same boat, you can lose your tax exempt status, Main Street can. We can't lobby. We can't lobby for things. So, and I think the Board of Selectmen...
What is your feel, though, of the group?
My feel is that there's not enough, everybody's split.
Say again?
My feel is that everybody's split right now and that people are going to wait till the last second to make their decision.
It's not unlike the national election.
Yes, very much.
I
can't call it. But again, and I think you'll find that town leadership as well is trying to be very careful. If the town came out either pro or against, then it's steering either way. And so I think they're trying to do they're being careful, trying to educate, these are the questions and this is why, and the Charter Revision Commission and the report and all the reasoning behind their decisions is on the website and has been talked about. But I think as town officials, town leaders, organizations, we're careful not to steer people in any one direction. That's
that's a definition.
There's a liability to that.
Right.
Nothing on SCTV except they carried all the meetings that were put on by the charter, which was great.
They're not going to take a position on it either.
No.
Yeah, SCTV's in the same boat we are.
But it's like a big vacuum that's going on here, and everyone's trying to figure, well, it'll happen, it'll come out fine. We don't know what fine is,
Well, fine isn't different for everybody. So.
Huh?
Fine is different for everybody.
That's correct, and everyone's got a sub-position. But the question is, educating, giving information to the people is very, very important. Now, I know that some of the Charter Revision members are trying to get some kind of a synthesis in the Valley Press, because some people don't use the internet,
Yeah.
So, but it's a big issue, and we come here and we talk about minutia, like what pictures we're going to put on. Let me tell you, this is big stuff for this town. So,
but it's not our role to discuss the Charter Revision Commission. It's not our role to take a position on it as a commission.
I understand.
Dave, the best I can suggest is maybe make suggestions to the First Selectman's office if you have specific suggestions on ways they can better communicate with the public.
Well, we're running out of time, so that's great. So it's going to happen in the blind. That's what you're telling me.
No, I'm telling you. I mean, you're bringing up an issue, but how do you want the town to respond? I mean, do you have specific suggestions on?
Well, look, I've already made a couple suggestions where I had a position I could. Like, I wanted the Republican Town Committee to take a blind vote on it and then publish their result. They wouldn't do it. So there are ways you can do this if you want to get information out to the public to show some sign of leadership one way or the other. I know it's not going to happen, and I'm saying this, I hope it's being televised, because it's a lack of leadership of the town one way or other. Who's responsible for that lack? I don't know. Everyone's got a piece of it. But I just want to impress on the public, this is a big issue. And it's like silence, Like we're going to eliminate the police department, he wouldn't come. You get into all kinds of crap. Pardon the word. I pass.
Okay. I have two questions for you. Has Stephanie Reef's position been filled yet?
No, it hasn't. The duties will be assumed by the new Deputy Director of Administrative Services when that person is hired. And we're putting together a panel to look at that shortly.
And that's a full-time position?
That's a full-time position.
Okay. And is the town up for full reassessment in 2017? Right now, that's the other thing. I think I may even have it. Have they hired a company yet to do that reassessment?
So they're using municipal valuation services. Those folks have already started, and they're in the first phase now, which is a pre-review, which they're comparing what they observe with what's on the assessor's cards, and then there are going to be some questionnaires in December to residents.
So that will affect the July tax bill next year?
I don't think so.
Or is it 2018 that it will affect?
Right, exactly. I mean, the revaluation notices culminating the process don't even go out until December of 17. Okay.
Was that a contract bid?
Yeah, I mean, we went to RFP, and No, actually, the lowest bidder ended up being selected for this.
How many bidders they have?
They had about 4 or 5 respond.
And what did it go for? What was the price of the
I don't know off
contract?
the top of my head, Dave, but it was well within whatever money had been budgeted for. So
Well, it certainly wasn't $1 million.
Oh, no,
Something
no,
like
no, no, no.
100, 150,000.
I think it's actually under 200,000 this time. I think.
Okay.
But I think we budgeted to this point somewhere close to 300,000 for it.
Just a comment about that, when we do get the reassessments, I think there needs to be an ample amount of time for people to dispute their assessments,
Yeah.
because it's a very short window typically.
Right.
That people are not aware of, both from a commercial and a residential standpoint. And there's a process that needs to be followed, otherwise they don't hear your concerns.
Exactly.
But it needs to be a little bit more transparent than it was the last time we
Okay.
had the full reevaluation.
I'll pass that back to the assessor.
I think that's one of the frustrations that I've heard in my professional capacity.
Sure. You would certainly hear it.
So,
Do you know what's happened to the expansion they had over at St. Mary's? They were going to put a bigger connecting addition on. Do you know how that stands?
I don't know where that stands. I know there was talk about it. I don't know, Sarah.
Go through it if you want.
I don't think there were any plans brought to that.
I have some feedback. I'm a parishioner,
Right.
very involved. They are in fundraising stage right now, and they're trying to get, the Archdiocese gave them permission to go ahead, and they are now closing the gap on the remaining amount that they need. But it's called Campus Connection, and they're connecting the school and the church. So the parish center and the church, they're going to make it accessible right now, because the church doesn't have handicap accessibility. So they're going to do elevators and things like that. So it is going to combine the school and the church, and so you don't have to walk through the parking lot.
And also
Wasn't
add some more.
that, but wasn't that part of the original charrette of the road going straight through there from Hot Meadow to Iron Horse, right through there? That was in certainly some of the plans that they talked about to develop that.
I think
Going
it was-
from Asako straight down was one of the...
was one of the iterations.
No, there's pretty much it's everything's going to be like I believe the plan is to sell the Masako parish office and move the parish office into the new
No, I was talking the street.
Oh, the street.
In the charrette.
Continuing
It was
the street through.
Continuing the street,
Yeah,
because at
I-
one point it
yeah.
was all the way through or something. I remember.
There have been,
Right
Lou-
there.
actually, Lou is correct, but that was if there was thought that the trends were that a lot of Catholic schools were closing, and that should the St. Mary's close within the next 20 to 30 years, that could be done. But St. Mary's, and we've been working with Rebecca Lobo as well, they're also going to bring in some new facilities as well. There's talk about some new gymnasium facilities and excuse me, all of some of the better connection to the community, a better connection to Hot Meadow Street, and from what I've been told, they have moved into the fundraising portion, but then they need a certain amount of fundraising. They need to hit a certain goal before the Archdiocese will agree to move forward on the rest of the construction plans and things like that. They have to hit a percentage.
70%, and I think they're there.
Okay,
yeah, I believe they're there already. They just published, if you go to St. Mary's website, it's all in their bulletin, and you could download the bulletin, and it gives the update of the project. They made a public announcement. It was a private solicitation going on until recently. Now it's public solicitation for fundraising now. So, and that was last weekend or the weekend before, they made that public announcement that and they gave updates to the project. So they're very transparent about it.
Well, and they
Father
also
Tara.
want to be very good community partners. There's tons of things after meeting with Rebecca and some of the St. Mary's people. There's tons of things that St. Mary's does that don't fall within the church, but actually, they provide space for a lot of nonprofit groups. They do senior lunches. I mean, they do tons and tons of things to reach out to the community, and so we've engaged them to have better ties to the community in Top Meadow Street, and I think they're meeting that challenge.
What do they estimate the size of the project, do you know, Carolyn? Rough?
That's
I think they scaled back.
Yes.
I think they had, there are plans, I think, that they have online on their website that show sort of the flow, the schematic design, and maybe they have some of the square footage, but I think they had to scale back. It was too costly.
Oh, it's multi-millions, that's obvious.
Yes, yeah.
But you think it's on the internet?
I do, yeah.
Thank you. Very helpful.
Sarah? We have a written report from
Yes, Nancy couldn't be here today, so you have a written report from her.
You choose not to read it. I mean, we all have copies and it can be put into record.
Yes.
And I can't see it right now because I don't have my glasses, so my apologies.
I'm going to do a quick update, but as Tom mentioned, and I'll do updates through the last meeting, which was August, because you guys didn't have September. We have been very busy working with the town of Simsbury on the ribbon cuttings. Dave and I attended Highcroft, which is the Landworks partners in the Nielsen construction, ribbon cutting with Tom and the First Selectman and many people from the community. Main Street has worked diligently with the First Selectman's office. In addition to the two that Tom mentioned, we've also done the Ronna Morton State Farm ribbon cutting, which is in the North Village, which is Steve Antonio's property. As he mentioned, we did Best Cleaners, which just opened. The North Village is really starting to look active and engaged. And we also did Present Company, which is the Mill at 2T, formerly the Mill at 2T, which is Jeff Lazat's place. And he's a Simsbury native, used to be the executive chef from On 20, which is really fantastic, coming back to Simsbury and keeping that business open. So we've been very busy with ribbon cuttings and grand openings. We are currently, Main Street welcomes 2 new board members, which is Wendy Walsh. Her husband Bill Walsh owns M&M Auto. Wendy's very quick to say she does not, she doesn't own that. Her husband owns that. She owns the antique trailer. The trailer is on the opposite end, across the street. And we welcome James Chen. James is the owner of formerly Green Tea at the Barn and Han Asian Cuisine. And speaking of grand openings, we are working on James's grand opening of Table 570. That's the name that will replace Green Tea. It has been pushed off a little. They had hoped to open mid-October. That obviously is not going to happen. We're looking at early November at this point, so I will send you an invitation. But I'm meeting with their business manager next week to talk about some of those details.
That building looks great.
He's spent a lot of money.
Looks great.
Everything he does is really high-end, top-notch. So that is moving forward. We're also working with Sam at Meadow. We provide consultant services to our businesses. Currently, we're working on redesigning his kitchen a little bit to make it, now that Nord Christensen and his team have moved the freezers out, we're looking to make sure that his kitchen operates efficiently. Main Street is working for our 3rd year on Small Business Saturday. It's going to be, again, our 3rd year doing Black Friday and Small Business Saturday. We have once again, for the 2nd year in a row, asked the Chamber of Commerce to partner with us. And I'll have more information shortly, but this is where on November 25th and November 26th, Black Friday and Small Business Saturday, local Simsbury businesses will sell their gift cards, $50 gift cards for $40, so people get a nice little discount. And last year we sold just shy of $20,000 in gift cards and gift certificates on a time when most people are not shopping locally. They're doing Amazon and they're going to the mall for their Black Friday specials, and we kept about $20,000 locally.
And it's a nice reminder of what we have in Simsbury. We're also going to redo our Passport to Fun, which is no purchase necessary. People will collect 8 different stickers from a variety of participating businesses. They'll be entered to win prizes. And that really worked well last year. We coordinated it with Main Street's Discover Simsbury section, which will come out 2 weeks before Small Business Saturday, and the focus is on educating the public on why their dollars are better spent patronizing Simsbury businesses and all of that it entails. So we're wholly focused on that as well.
I have a question about the rebranding. Where are we with that? Because I know there was I don't want to say glitch, it's probably not the right word, but a funding.
Yes. We've officially had to put that on hold. We've gone back and forth with the town. They are looking to find the funds either for maybe, at this point, probably looking for this next year, but we've had to put it on pause.
Okay.
The trailers you're talking about out there in the North Village, I guess we call it now, is that on Antonio's land or is that on Gerston's property?
I'm not sure, Dave. I'm not sure who she rents from.
I don't think that's Steve's. I don't think that's Steve Antonia's property, but I
Could still be.
I think it might be.
Wagner still
I still
owns
think
a
it's
little
Wagner.
piece. I think it might be Rick Wagner's piece,
No,
but I don't want to.
Wagner doesn't own the land. That's why I'm asking the question. He doesn't own the land between the where the Ford building is.
He doesn't own the building.
No, he owns the building. He doesn't own the land. That's been the big tie-up up there. The land that the Ford building is on. I know. I worked for the guy. Okay, that land is owned by a Gerston family. Okay, and Wagner has a lease on that land. But I don't know where the line is, and that's why I was curious about because I think it may be that those trailers are on a portion of the land that's owned by Antonio now, but I'm not sure.
I don't know. Steve Antonio is a board member as well, so Steve and
Oh, that's
Wendy
true.
know each other. I'm sure that if they were on I don't.
It's no problem. It's just.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whose property they're on.
But see, this is all part of this fiasco that goes back over 5 years on the Big Y, which is still up in the air. It's called the Big Lie now, you know?
I would respectfully say that we'd be very cautious. Big Y has had to make decisions
There was a
on their
major shakeup
operating.
in the Massachusetts grocery
Right.
business, I think involving Star Markets and a couple of
And
others.
Hanford's.
They ended up
Purchased.
purchasing 8 stores. So I have no doubt that their capital right now and it's a family-owned operation. The person we deal with is Matt Demore, who's the son, I think, of and
But you understand, Tom, this goes back, this whole thing started before you were even brought into the town, you know? I mean, it's
I know we've been waiting a long time for it, but
which leads itself to, it used to be when you went before zoning and you got approval on a project, you had to put a spade in the ground at the end of that approval year. Then they increased it to give them an automatic 2 years. Then when we had the big collapse in all property values and everything in 70, I guess 8 or 9, then the state said, well, you got to give them 5 years. Now, I don't think our zoning guys have changed that on any new application. Do you know, Lou?
Not that I know.
So it's,
They may have to come up for renewal.
that's true.
well, that's the
They
point,
do
I think.
expire at some point.
And I will say
It's
that
5 years.
currently Big
It's
Y
5 years.
has all of the permits necessary should they want to build. We have been told, and the town has done a great job, and the First Selectman's Office has done a great job communicating with them, that, again, they've had to make decisions based on where they're going to shift their capital, and purchasing 8
Oh, yeah, we understand
stores
all
is where their money
But
went.
the
So
issue
they did
is,
just open one down in the Waterbury or Southington area.
They did. That
They
was
just put in a brand new one.
That was meant to, from what I understand, that had actually been meant to open after the Simsbury store, but because the Simsbury store had some issues that needed to be ironed out, it came online quicker.
well, the question, go ahead.
No, I meant to ask Tom, do we have an update on the solar farm?
We got a couple of them going on. I know that Jamie was checking in, but the solar farm projects are all waiting for state action right now. And that's until they're both in both cases entities have put their applications into the state and have not yet heard. We should, I think, as I recall, I think they're expecting to hear late October, early November, and on the big one, I think that's right, Sarah, isn't it? Yeah. So.
Although with the state, that it might get pushed.
Right.
There's no guarantee. I'm sorry, and the final thing is the Simsbury Main Street Partnership and the Simsbury Public Library will be announcing, hopefully very shortly, we've applied for a national license for a special event to do a innovation event sometime in April, and I'll have more details as soon as we've gone through that process.
I also just wanted to welcome Sabre Olive Oil and all the other businesses, but he in particular he's gotten the businesses over at Simsbury Town Shops together, and he's creating a group over there for events.
They have reestablished their Merchants Association.
Yes, and they are doing events over there. He's very, very active in trying to promote those shops. So kudos.
Set up their website.
That store is like an addiction for me.
They have cheese too.
They have some of the best olive oil I've ever had.
Yeah.
Yes, and actually we're working with the property owner, Tom Ryan. I think it's a nice melding of the right circumstances because Tom Ryan wants to do a signature event, is actually willing to put in some money. So we're working with the tenants as well as the property owner to.
Yeah. Thank you. Because I don't want to bore Dave. We're the photo contest. Thank you to those of you who submitted your selections. I would like to make a motion, or if I can make a motion, I don't know if I can do that, to take the selections that we've chosen and send them to the Board of Selectmen, just the selections that this commission has chosen, for them to vote on the finalists, because I need to not vote. My daughter submitted 10 photos, and I certainly don't want to have a conflict of interest there.
I'll make the motion for you. Okay.
Okay, so you're making a motion to send the finalists to the Board of Selectmen for the final results?
Yes.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
I
great.
abstain.
Okay. Does anybody have any older new business that we would like to discuss?
Dave, you serious?
Pardon?
You abstain?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any older new business?
I just have one question.
Yeah.
So a couple of months ago, all the commissioners were asked to submit something. I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, Jay, I forgot about that. I apologize.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, yeah, so all the commissioners were asked to submit something with respect to their view of kind of the potential future role of the Economic Development Commission and what their particular interests were. It's been a couple months. I just want to know what the...
I've received responses from 3 people. I don't have responses from everybody. I will take all those responses and forward them to all of you. And Tom has them as well.
I think I've got, I know I have Jay's, and I'm trying to remember.
You have Carolyn's.
Carolyn's, yeah, right, exactly, right.
You'll get mine November 9th.
Okay, so...
Maybe.
And I have reached out to the Democratic and the Republican town committee chair, and I talked to Lisa about her reaching out to, is it Amy?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because we have positions that need to be filled on the board as well, and wanted to get their input on how they thought the commission, needs to be.
Shouldn't that wait till after the election?
We're not electing.
Oh, that's right, there's nothing this time.
There's nothing this cycle.
Okay, so they got another year. So
They have another year, so, because we have an opening for Mark Deming's position, and Chris Millet informed me that he was going to be resigning. I told him he needed to submit a letter to Republican Town Committee and the Board of Selectmen, and he hasn't done that to my knowledge yet, and Tom confirmed that he hasn't received anything yet, so we have an opening for a Democratic seat and a Republican seat, potentially, if he submits that. So there's some openings that need to be filled as well, and I wanted the town committees to think about how they wanted to fill those based on our conversation.
But I think, Jay, I don't recall that. I don't know if I was here. I might not have been.
You were not here.
Because I don't remember seeing that or getting any information on that, because I could write a book for you if you'd like. But the point I'm making is, long before we start asking people to come on and join this commission, we should probably figure out what this commission's going to do,
well,
if anything.
Right.
Because, to Dave's point, there are certain things that are, I don't consider it necessarily minutia, and I think they're important and things to do, but the commission has no vision, no position in long-term planning, is not involved in the movement of the economic development of the town. I think we we hear some things, and then we move on. And I don't think that's what this commission should be about, but I think that's where we are now. And I think if this commission should probably meet and discuss amongst itself what we're doing. Where are we in this?
Well, we had also asked for direction from the Board of Selectmen with regard.
Yeah, but it's not. The Board of Selectmen, they don't come. They don't know
they're
what
not
we do.
here.
They have no, they, with all due respect to them, and it's not their fault, they don't know what we do. It's really trying to figure out what this commission's going to do, if anything. Are we going to be actively involved in the promotion and development of the town? Are we going to be closely related with businesses? And we get some reports here and there, but years and years and years ago, it was this commission that will be reporting to other people as to what's going on in the town. We're the last to know, and that is a complete change from years and years ago. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying the commission should figure out where it wants to be, because then you'll determine whether you're going to get buy-in from people and that people want to volunteer and come here at 7:30 in the morning. I can honestly tell you, coming here at 7:30 in the morning and to just hear a couple of reports and decide on some pictures, and I'm not demeaning that, it has to be done. But that should be a smaller percentage of what the general meeting is about. I enjoy getting up, coming here, and being a part of the process. I don't think it's as appealing, at least to me, to come and just be to hear what's going on, some of which is 30 to 45 days old, and we're the last to know. That's never what this commission's been about. So I'm not saying one way or the other, but I think this commission has to sit and say, this is what we want to be. Then we explain what we want to be to the selectmen. They decide if that's where we want to fit in the whole process, and then you could get the buy-in. Then you'll get people to come. Then if you're part of that process. Business visitations. It used to be the economic development chair and the first selectman, and did all the business visitations and things like that. I don't know if we're even part of that process now, because I don't hear that.
Well, I had a conversation with Lisa Hefner a month ago, maybe a month ago, and offered. I want to be. I'm the vice chair. I offered to be part of those business visitation visits, make myself available. I have a very flexible schedule and can, reasonably accommodate those type of things, and let her know that I was very interested in doing that. I have not been asked to be on any of those at this point, but in fairness to her, I have been on vacation for 3 weeks. So, but
also, for what it's worth, Chris, there have not been a lot. There were a large number of them earlier this year. Towards the end of the summer, they tapered off for perhaps obvious reasons.
She was very open to having me included in those. And I let her know that with just some advance notice, I'd be more than happy to join her.
But I'm not getting down into one specific area or not. I'm just talking more about where is this commission's position.
Well, then, is it a worthwhile venture for our next November meeting, instead of listening to reports, that we can get a piece of paper on and read ourselves, that we have a working meeting in November and we come up with what our mission is for 2017, what our goals are, and what we want to accomplish.
I think we need to do that, because then you have your budget cycle starting in January.
I'll be happy to bring a flow chart.
I think it would be helpful to have copies of everyone's submissions as to what they see, what they want to do to facilitate.
We can send out another email reminding folks to have that, and then I can compile that information. Okay.
Makes sense.
Do we have to vote on what we're doing at the next meeting? We don't.
No,
we can just do an agenda item.
You set the agenda.
It's going to be a working meeting, and we'll just set our goals for 2017. Okay, as a commission.
That's good. That's very consistent with the discussion. I guess really you weren't there, but there's across-the-board agreement with what you just said from this group, at least that's what I heard. And so the request for information from each member was to see where
interest lies.
Where interest lies, where if we can find a sweet spot for this group.
Any other older new, did that answer your question?
Yep,
Okay.
yep,
Okay.
thank you.
Any older new business other than that? Do I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a great day.
You too.
If anyone wants a copy of the first selectmen's report,
I do.
I have some here.
Can't see here.